this computer. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone, the only weekly show on YouTube where you can get your questions answered by a medical doctor who is also a champion bodybuilder. Ask Dr. Testosterone is brought to you by his book, The Bible of Bodybuilding 2, over 700 pages filled with everything you need to know about training, nutrition, supplementation, PED use, all that good stuff. Available on Amazon.com, where you can also find my book, Real Bodybuilding. And now please welcome from Athens, Greece, good Dr. George Antouliatos. How are you, doctor?
Fine, Ron. What's up?
Saw Jay Cutler yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. He looked really good, huh, for 50.
Dude, he looks like 35. He looks great. It's crazy.
How was the show?
It's good. It was in an old nightclub that I used to go to with my wife like over 20 years ago in Boston. So it's free. I'd never been there in the daytime. It was really weird to be there for a bodybuilding contest. But it worked. It worked. They put a stage and seats and it worked just fine. It was a great show. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's get into some questions, doctor. This is a good one, really good one, because a lot of people take growth hormone now. A lot of people are concerned about side effects. So this gentleman wanted to know, I've noticed that people who take HGH, human growth hormone, have overgrown or enlarged skulls, heads. Is there a recommended dosage of HGH to prevent this overgrowth or enlargement of the skull?
Yeah, this is the scenario of the acromegaly, which is kind of extreme because you've seen acromegaly in pro bodybuilders that have used for long, like Greg Kovacs, for instance, who passed. And this resembles the Frankenstein jaws, and also the elbows are become prominent. I think the acromegaly requires massive abuse for a prolonged period of time, over 8. I use 16 perhaps. So meanwhile, you're going to have also enlarged viscera and Tarpa-Collins syndrome and cardiomegaly, and other issues, diabetes for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is something casual to consider about,
Yeah. There was you remember we talked, I think, last time about Barry Bonds, the famous superstar baseball player. His hat size went up from a 7 1/8 to a 7 1/2, that's about an inch. His head grew about an inch in circumference, and his shoes went from a size 10 1/2 to a 13 in just a few years. So wow, that's scary that your head and your feet and your hands grow too, right?
Yeah, it's a scenario. I
Strange.
believe I was wearing 9 US size, my shoe 9 in high school, and now I think it's 9 1/2 perhaps. It sounds reasonable, huh?
Yeah, well, you never abused growth. You never used large quantities of growth hormone, did you?
No, but I've been using since 2017 on and off, and from 2020 non-stop.
Okay, yeah. I mean, women's feet grow from pregnancy. I know that. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, that's a strange thing. All right, here's a good one. I have issues having access to real pharmaceutical grade anabolics here in Canada. No prescriptions are available for Nandrolone, Oxandrolone, or Proviron. I do have access to Winstrol, veterinary grade pharmaceutical, in pills or injections. Is there a place for this in my HRT protocol for maybe a few weeks a year? Dr. Edward Lichten suggests using 25 milligrams oral once a week to lower SHBG and reduce phytoestrogens. He's also adding 40 milligrams a week of Nandrolone to his HRT protocol.
Yeah, I don't like this term HRT when you do a little bit of cycle of anything and you're stacking different steroids that have side effects to the cardiovascular system, mainly for the sake of health. So if you cannot find Nandrolone, forget about using Winstrol or Anadrol because they have side effects to the lipids. Now, about DECA, I've said for a brief period of time, you can use 50 milligrams, but in the long run, it will affect your lipids, your homocysteine, if not your liver. So if you do TRT, stay with testosterone because it has no side effects. But steroids do have side effects in the long run.
Well, you just busted me because I'm on HRT because I have Nandrolone added in. I'm not on true TRT. So I can never say I'm on TRT because I do have 100 milligrams of Nandrolone.
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah. Next one is, when looking at cholesterol numbers, does Dr. T look at ApoA and ApoB? Is there a particular level we should be at?
Yeah. ApoB is the new deal that you have to look along with LDL for the deep water in the cardiovascular field about prevention. Also, I will look ApoA, and I want to keep it to the lowest levels. LPA also should be below 30. Homocysteine as well, plus A1C, along with the classic lipids, HDL, LDL, total cholesterol, and triglycerides. Yeah, but generally you need to have them to the lowest levels, and ApoB, yeah, should be low because ApoB and LDL are the harmful, let's say, measurements that you need to have them low, suppressed. And I remember when Steve Blackman told me how much is your ApoB. And you know that cardiology believes a low LDL below 100 is more beneficial than a high HDL over 50.
So it's better to have low bad cholesterol than high good cholesterol.
It's more, yeah, you should have low the bad cholesterol that does clog your arteries rather than have super high the good cholesterol that cleans your arteries. But they say that a super high HDL is not that good as it's the super low LDL, protected.
I guess that makes sense. So we just talked about someone asking if they could use a drug once a week. Here's another very similar question. Is using oxymetholone, otherwise known as Anadrol, only once a week for heavy training in the deadlift pre-workout very bad in the long term? I'm a power lifter.
Yeah, why don't you have a calcium score after your 40s and see?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but I'm just wondering, that's a very mild, so they typically come in 50 milligram tablets. So I wonder, how much damage could you do taking 50 milligrams of one drug once a week? Obviously,
The calcium score is the only lab, the only exam, the only evaluation that shows when nothing else shows something wrong.
hmm,
You may have a good lipids within range. You may have a negative stress test. You may have a good echocardiogram, even a good ECG, even a good triplex. But the calcium score will show what's going on inside the arteries.
hmm. Yeah, that's a good point because I have everything you just mentioned, I do every year, but I haven't had a calcium score for, oh boy, probably 3 or 4 years now. It's
But
quite
you
time.
told me it was not zero, right?
It was like a 9. It was 9, I remember. Yeah. I mean, I've heard, I think Guy Cisternino, the bodybuilder, he said his was like a 200 or 220. His calcium score. That's pretty high, but he's still kicking. All right, this is a strange one. How long does it take to get feeling back after gyno surgery? It's been 10 weeks post-op. The mass in my left pec was much larger and numbness is worse on the left side. Is there anything I can take to speed up the healing and get normal feeling back?
I mean, first of all, you should check out your surgeon. All right. And then this guy asks, what about recovery of what? The healing the
See,
tissue?
I understand. So gyno surgery, they take out the
Gland.
mass
The
and usually
gland.
the gland, right? So why would why would the area be numb unless do you think they could have damaged some nerves in the surgery?
I don't know, perhaps right after the surgery, you're numb because of the painkillers.
Yeah.
They give a lot of painkillers. I felt nothing the day after my surgery because I was IV with ibuprofen, and paracetamol. So I don't feel any pain, plus perhaps some cutting. But now it takes some time for the tissue to heal.
Yeah. But numbness, I've never heard of that. I mean,
Mm.
I've never heard of any what complications do people generally have after gyno surgery unless they got an infection?
No clue, but generally we have on the pecs and on the skin, we have some nerves that have to do with the sensual feeling.
Mm, yeah. So sorry, we don't have a better answer for you, sir, but it's a very
Ask your surgeon, yeah.
strange situation. Yeah, ask your surgeon. Next one is, what are some ways to decrease fat in the glutes and thighs in a male? Could it be estradiol, prolactin, or both causing the inability
Okay.
to lose fat?
I mean, you're over fat, okay? You cannot blame the labs if you're fat.
Mm,
If your glutes jiggle, then they're fat.
yeah,
Okay, water is just a film of fluid when you're 4%. Come on.
true. Well, I believe I trust everything you just said, but I can tell you, maybe it was a fluid difference when when I added Arimidex to my contest prep like last few weeks. I only did that the last couple times I ever competed, and I did notice I was able to get a harder, drier look in the glutes and the
Right, you have a
hams.
point on that, but I told you my leanest was 4% when I was at 175 pounds or 180 pounds when I won the the classic physique back 24 years ago, and I was just using Novadex 40 milligrams a day, and perhaps let's say 5 Proviron a day, but we had no access to Arimidex back then. You know, so even Gaspari did the job with Novadex back in '87.
With Novadex, lower your estrogen?
No, really, but it was the only estrogen blocker that, you know, occupies a receptor, but there were no other agents back then. Perhaps you had Master, okay,
Yeah.
same as Proviron, but there were no AIs.
I remember Novadex used to come in these blister packs. I think they were 20 milligram tabs.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. Yeah, that's what I used to take back in the day. All right, our final question. Currently, I'm going to cut 300 milligrams test propionate and 50 milligrams Winstrol a day. I assume the 300 milligrams test is weekly, not daily. I'm in the 4th week and my joints hurt on pushing exercises, especially on triceps. Any supplements to help the joint pain from Winstrol?
Yeah, now Winstrol, as I told you, cut off aldosterone. That is beneficial because aldosterone lubricates through the retention of sodium and water. So you need more water into the synovial cavity, and you're during the process of drying out that you use also aromatase inhibitor that retains the estrogens that also may retain that catch off the estrogens that may also retain some water into the joints. So I don't know, I mean, take more hyaluronic acid or glucosamine or chondroitin, but I think the significant here thing is that you don't have estrogens and you don't have also aldosterone. Perhaps if you inject some DECA Nandrolone propionate every day, you could improve the situation or stop using aromatase inhibitors. But you cannot have both. There's no free lunch, you know.
See, I told him on the comment section that the doctor would answer, and you did. But why? I said, why do you have to use Winstrol? It's a good steroid, but there's nothing magical about Winstrol for cutting. Not everybody.
It doesn't retain. Yeah, some people believe it burns fat, but I don't buy that. I mean, burning fat comes out of diet, you know, and caloric deficit, and perhaps okay, some GH or the steroids, but you can still be ripped with Primo, for instance, instead of Winstrol or with Anavar.
Yeah.
But some people are more lazy in the diet and believe that Winstrol is the magic thing that'll make your skin like onion, you know. It doesn't happen. I was fat when I was using Winstrol, but I was also shredded when I was using Winstrol, depending on my body fat and my diet, okay?
Yeah. I mean, and why would you want to have joint pain when you're supposed to be enjoying your training and getting good results from your training, and your elbows are killing you all the time? Why would you keep taking a drug that's causing that? It doesn't make sense to me. Stop using Winstrol, guys. If it hurts your joints, it's like there's an old doctor joke in the US. It's probably like 100 years old, this joke. The doctor says, the guy goes to his doctor with a spoon, sticks it in his eye. He goes, "Hey, doctor, every time I do this, it hurts." And the doctor says, "Stop doing that." There you go. Corny old joke. Corny old joke. Anyway, that's all our questions for this week. Thank you, doctor, as always, giving us information that they cannot get from their own doctor, their family physician, or from the guy at the gym, giving them the best of both worlds. So please support the show and the doctor. Bible of Bodybuilding 2 on Amazon.com. Huge book with tons of information. Give yourself a really good education on everything you need to know, the basics. And that's it, guys. Thank you, doctor, for being here every week, giving a tremendous service to these people around the world. And that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you next week.